Welcome to the Coach V Show, powered by the Island City Media Group, broadcast from Hollywood's Dash Radio Studios. And today is going to be a treat. Well, we have executive in Uso who came from American Samoa and resided in Long Beach, Brother Junior Tauvaa. We'll talk about all of the things in terms of his success, his significance, and some life lessons that you and me will definitely grow from. Stay tuned in. Grab a notebook, take some notes, or open up your phone notepad and take some notes as he's going to be dropping some amazing knowledge. Thank you to everybody out there that's tuning in, and thank you to Brother Junior for taking time to come and enlighten all of us as a featured guest on the show. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Whenever it's cold outside and you need a little heat, at the game or in a plane it's comfortable on your feet. When it's time for a nap, it's a pillow for your sleep. Get your comfy blanket now. Get your comfy blanket now.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life. Offering for your consideration from some of my insights, but definitely from our featured guests, these success frameworks, behavioral models, and life lessons that if you should find value in them, that you subscribe and deploy all over your life, leadership, and business. Here on Island City Media Group, broadcast from Dash Radio Hollywood Studios, the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron. Together we rise. Today, I am so honored and juiced to have one of the best business guys out of Polynesia that grew up in Strong Beach. Shout out Strong Beach. Brother Junior Tauvaa, who is currently the Chief Sales Officer for Visit Anaheim. Junior serves as the Chief Sales Officer currently at Visit Anaheim since October of 2013. Tauvaa leads the sales, marketing, tourism, and services team of Visit Anaheim to increase Anaheim's market share and customer satisfaction in meetings and leisure market. He also leads Orange County Sports Commission to position Anaheim/Orange County as a premier sports destination. Tauvaa is also very involved in the business events industry on initiatives to move the industry forward and to ensure that Anaheim/OC, shout out OC, baby, Orange County brand continues to be thought as a leader in the industry. Tauvaa was previously the Executive Vice President for Strategic Partnerships with Meeting Professional International and MPI Foundation for 6 years. He also previously was Los Angeles Tourism Board for more than 10 years, a decade, where he held several key leadership roles. Now, everybody on this show knows that Coach V says, if service is below you, leadership and high-level performance is above you too. And Tauvaa held different volunteer leadership positions with Destination International, DI, Events Industry Council, EIC, and the American Society of Association Executives, the Professional Convention Management Association, the Meeting Professionals International Foundation, as well as several technology companies over the course of his career. He is currently serving on a volunteer leadership position with DI, Events GIG, San Diego State University, and EIC. Tauvaa earned his master's in public administration for the California State University of Strong Beach with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from Cal Poly University. Was that Pomona or SLO, San Luis Obispo?
San Luis Obispo, baby.
SLO, baby. And so welcome to the show, your boy, Brother Junior Tauvaa. Junior, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. It's a long-time listener, first-time participant, right?
Yo, man, thank you so much for just taking the time, as you do in serving so many people around you, that you take the time just to come lend us some of your success stories, your experience, and then really your significance in what it is that you're doing. And we got to shout out before we even start. Brother Joey Kenga is his government name. That's how Q says it. He goes, that's my government, man. Government name, man. So shout out to Brother Q, the CEO of Island City Media Group, for hooking us up. So, Junior, please tell us your genesis point. Tell us your story, Brother Junior.
Yeah, thanks again. Thanks for having me on. My parents, I grew up in American Samoa, right? My parents moved us to Long Beach when I was probably around 12, 13 years old. And so, sort of getting acclimated to living in the States, as you said, in Long Beach, right, was a little bit of a rough start for me there, but obviously got acclimated and started going to high school or middle school and then high school in Long Beach, and then eventually graduated from there and went on to Cal Poly. You mentioned Q, right? Q and I went to high school together, and that's how sort of knew Q. And then went to college at Cal Poly up there, and then came back in grad school at Long Beach State, as you said in the beginning there. So, and then after that, like all of us, needed to find a career, right? Needed to find work, if you will, right? So worked for a company called Arthur Andersen. This is back in the day for a lot of the younger people on now. This is similar to PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the biggest consulting firms. But that's where I got my start, really sort of cut my teeth in that organization. And from there, met the leader of the sales division for LA Tourism, which got me into this space. And so I've been in this space now for about 25 years, and continue to grow and grind and be successful in this space.
Man, what a journey. Talk about coming from America Samoa, and so many of us, either I came from Tonga, Q came over from Guam, just assimilating and transitioning from, the family, cultural, and religious values of the islands to now coming, especially arriving in Strong Beach, right? Where now there's a group of Samoans, but there's a lot of minorities, but then a very high affluent as you go up the hills, yes. Right? So talk about just assimilating and figuring things out, please, Junior.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. It was, as I said, I struggled a little bit, all right, when I first came on, because obviously you come from an island, and then all of a sudden you're in this big city, right? And that was hard enough. And then the language piece was a little bit of a barrier, right? Because although we spoke English in the islands, they were taught English. Obviously, English is a second language, right? And then there's a whole slang that you don't, you know what I mean? Like it's not common. So you have to sort of learn all of that, learn the cultural piece. But what helped me a lot is, like all of us, right? Sports became sort of an area where I felt very comfortable, right? That you don't have to talk very much, but all you do is compete, right? And so for me, that was the area that was a space I felt very, very comfortable. And as I grew up, that was sort of the place that I always fell back on, right? And can compete. And then, going through school, my parents were very big in school. My mom was a teacher in the islands. And so school was a big part of growing up, right? And so she was hard on us in terms of making sure that we stay in school, that we do our classroom stuff. In fact, when I got to high school or got to middle school, she required me to play a musical instrument, right? It's a funny story. In order for me to continue to play sports, so I played the cello, right? And
wait. Say the cello.
The cello, right? And
my man Junior walking around with a cello.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine how much teasing and hazing we got for trying to get on a bus with this oversized guitar, right? As the boys would say, right? But that's my mom and dad were very disciplined in terms of making sure that I continue to do the school piece. And continue to get some balance, so I'm not sort of all the way over on just focusing on sports, right? And like I said, from there, it never really thought about going to college, right? That was sort of outside of my normal and everybody else I knew, right? And sports, football allowed me to go on to Cal Poly, right? And got a great education there. And so once I was done with sports and done with school, it was now time to really focus in on really what I wanted to do, right? And it just, started utilizing network, got a friend recommended Arthur Andersen and started working there. And and then from there, the people that I met sort of, carried me on, and the network that I built got me the next gig, and it got me the next gig, right? And so that's really how my career started and where I got today. I never really, interview or applied for a position, on a net or any of these things, right? It was always somebody that you knew you and knew the work that you did, right? And obviously you have to do great work and recommended you for the next position.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Introduce us to your parents, Uso, as you brought up your parents, your mom, please tell us your parents and your siblings.
Yeah, so obviously mom and dad. My mom's name is Teleofa Tauvaa. My dad is Tusialofa, who I'm named after, like many of us that are called Junior, right? We're named after our dads, right? So my dad is Tusialofa Masame Tauvaa, right? And then I have 5 siblings, right? Sam, Anna, Lay, Apa'au, and my youngest sister, Anna.
Okay, so the 4th one is Apa'au?
Apa'au, yeah, there are 5 of us total, right?
And then the last one is?
Anna.
Anna, man, yep. What so a family.
Yeah,
and where do you land?
Yeah, so I'm second to the oldest, right? So Sam is my oldest brother, right?
Yep.
And then so I'm second, and we have girls, and then the last one is Anna, right? So yeah, so a family of 7 landed here, and try to make it work. I remember living in a what we call 0-bedroom apartment, right? So a studio.
Say that again, Uso. What did you just say? What apartment?
0-bedroom apartment is what we jokingly refer to as 0-bedroom palace, right? All of us are sleeping in the living room, dinners in the living room, on the floor, my mom would put down an ia lava or something. We would sit down and, so that's where I started, right? And started from there every night. We'd have dinner together and, just try to make the best out of it. You know what I mean? But it was amazing. It was an amazing time looking back, right? Didn't have much, but we had each other.
Yeah, real talk. That's some real talk right there. And just that that communal living, because that's one immigrant experience that we share with so many other immigrants that created our own American dream and our own path, is that multiple families in one home, right? My family and I stayed in the garage of my aunt's house in San Bruno, California, off of San Bruno Ave, where San Francisco Airport is. And so talk about bridging, because like you, right? Nobody at my church even graduated from college, right? Because so I was the first generation and one of the first to go to UC Davis and graduate. Talk about how you bridged that and was able to transition and the struggles and challenges there of not having an example, Junior, please.
Yeah, so, when I was in high school and middle school as well, right? When we moved over here, my parents had, sort of part-time jobs, sort of, like warehouse jobs, like so many of us parents that migrate over, right? And so one of the things that my parents did to make ends meet, right, is pick up, cans, right? Aluminum recycling, right? Aluminum cans, cardboards, and all of these things. I remember going with them, and it's tough work, man. It is tough, humbling work, right? Where like my pops would tell me to jump in the dumpster and get all of the cardboards out, right? And we used to do this, from Long Beach all the way up to Pasadena, right? And they would take me with them in their truck, and that was my job, is to get inside the dumpster, get all of the cardboard, get all of the cans out, right? And I remember going by, I'll tell you this story because, I remember going to downtown LA, and they had some stops where they know they can get this stuff from. And I remember going to downtown LA, and I would see these people in their nice suits, crisp white shirts, going into these office buildings. And I remember saying to myself, one day, right? Like one day, I want to be one of those people, right? Like, I don't know what they do in those buildings, but man, they look nice, right? And I wonder what that's all about, right? And for me, it was, even in high school, it was the curiosity of what's possible, right? What is out there that's beyond what I have right now? Because I know what I have right now, and I'm not, while, like I said, we had each other, I knew that there's something bigger that I was missing out of. And so for me, it was just, when I got into college, I realized, talking to other college students, seeing how their family come up. I'm sure you were in Davis. My parents didn't come up very much, right? Because there's a cost to come up and see you and watch you play, right? And so just to see what other students that are in college, where they came from, the experience, how their family supports them and come up and do all of those things, I thought to myself, I need more, right? I want more, right? Why can't I have that? I want that, right? And so what do I have to do to get to that, right? And so for me, it was like, it was always wanting more and wanting, like seeing what other people have and trying to figure out how to get there, right? And get past and beyond where I started, right? So I just felt like there was more for me there, and there's more opportunities for me to get there.
And then talk about like getting the SLO. So I've been there, man. Like you see Santa Barbara and SLO, that's like a resort where you go to class if you want to. I mean, that area is, if there's a couple of spots that's like God's country, that place is special, right? Talk about how it was to exist as, I mean, you were probably one of the only Polynesians on campus, right? So talk about coming from a communal living, but yet it's all up to you. You got to make it happen for you. Talk about that, please.
Yeah, so it's you bring up a great point, and probably somebody that walk in these shoes would know that, right? So again, so it was a transition from an island to Long Beach, right? And Long Beach, big city, right? There's a lot of happening. LA's pretty close by, right? And then going from Long Beach, LA area to SLO, right? Again, small city, like you said, very, very small, wrapped around the college, very similar to Santa Barbara, right? Everything that happens is around the college. Decent, I mean, probably an affluent area compared to where I came from, right? Like in my eyes, they have a lot of stuff that I didn't have, right? But just a different vibe in that community. And to be honest, I hated it, right? I thought, what is this, right? Like, like you don't see, and you don't see the same things, I didn't see the same things that I was starting to get comfortable in Long Beach in SLO. And so it took me about a year to sort of really start to get comfortable with my surrounding, and then also get comfortable with school, right? And then there's the whole piece of going away, right? And being away from your family, knowing that, while now you're living on campus or you're living at school, it's you, for me, I know what's happening at home, right? I know the struggles that are going on at home. And I know that, while I'm here, they're still trying to make ends meet at home, right? And so it's that internal struggle that you have to go through. And, at the same time, you got to stay focused on what you're trying to do and be able to see past what's in front of you, right? See past that at some point, you are going to finish college, and you are going to be able to contribute back to and help your family when it's all done. So it was an adjustment. I suspect it's an adjustment that all of us are going through or have gone through.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Getting out of your comfort zone, definitely. Not having people around you to make you feel comfortable and that everything's going to be okay. A lot of individual internal self-talk, like get your butt up and let's go.
That's right.
I love that, and I love how you brought up your network. So jump us from Cal Poly, landing your first gigs, but under a Coach V premise and quote and approach in my empowerment coaching is that there's money in the transaction, but the wealth is in the relationships. Because you brought up your network. You've never sat down and formally interviewed. It was just like network relationships. Right. Talk about that, and talk about how you transitioned, and then some life lessons that you got to learn about being new to a new space, a new industry, right? Consulting. I mean, what a big word, right? A consulting company.
Right.
And you came from Long Beach, maybe the first in your family to go to college.
First in my family to go to college, first to graduate, right?
First to graduate, right? And now you're in consulting, and nobody looks like you when you were at SLO, and now nobody looks like you when in the building. Talk about all that.
Before I go there, right, I think one of the things that really sort of changed my life, right, and because a lot of us that come from the islands are very, like you said, really into the family network, really into my parents made me go to church. I think we were in church 6 days out of the week, right?
Yes, sir.
Monday to Wednesday, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So, we were very, very into, religious and into that space for us. And so I remember praying with my parents about the future and praying to keep us safe and praying to guide. And I think one of the changing pieces for me is realizing that, and and like all of us, we go through some we go through some trials and tribulations and go through pain and suffering. So while I was in college, my cousin passed away, my little brother passed away, right? And I think at that point I finally said to myself, I'm going to take a bit accountability for my life, right? And while I pray for things to go well, God gave me the ability to make decisions for myself and take accountability for my action. And I think that was one of the pivotal moments in my life where I finally said, okay, whatever, good or bad, it's going to be on me, right? I'm going to own the results, whether it's good or bad, right? And so for me, then getting out of college and then starting work, right? That was a big moment for me to own that versus saying, well, it may not be God's plans, right? It was always like, now you got to own the results that come out of there. You got to own your own actions, right? So moving into the college, I made the decision when I was going to school, when I was working, to go to grad school, right? I felt like, all of the years that I was an undergrad, I was playing sports and I didn't really have the work experience. And I remember talking to, one of my colleagues, and they said to me, Junior, you got to go back to grad school and get a graduate degree in order to compete with these kids that are coming out of undergrad with work experience. You have no work experience, so you got to have something else to at least neutralize that, right? And go into grad school. So I made the decision to go to grad school and work full time. So I was going full time grad school, full time work, right? So I think that was one of the big decisions. And so delaying sort of the immediate gratification of like, hey, I got some money now, I'm working, I'm going to go party for a little bit, right? And while some of my friends were doing that, I was still grinding it out, right? And then the people that I met in grad school and the people that I met while working allowed me to build this network of people that were really aggressive and really had plans for the future, right? And that's, as you talked about, that's the network that I leaned on when I started to work for advice, and then also for counsel when I looked at different opportunities and when opportunities came my way, right? So that was a big thing for me. And I think once I started to move up in organization, finished grad school and started to move up in different organizations, one of the best advice that I got from one of my supervisors, right? She said to me, Junior, nobody's coming, right? I remember we were behind a deadline, right? And we had to get this project done, right? And it was over Thanksgiving, right? And we needed to get it done before, by the end, like when everybody comes back from Thanksgiving. And she said to me, nobody's coming. We need to get this done by ourselves, but nobody's coming, right? And that sort of resonated with me, right? That, at some point you gotta take the bull by the horn. You gotta take control of your life, right? Nobody's coming, right? Good or bad. The actions, that the results, that nobody's coming to help you. Nobody's coming to wake you up. Nobody's coming to remind you to get up and go to work. Nobody's coming to give you a pep talk, right? You gotta own your action. You gotta own your results, right? And so for me, that really sort of catapulted me as I continue to grow and as I continue to work in the professional side.
That's awesome. So now talk about being a professional over almost 3 decades plus now, right?
Yeah.
That you've been an executive, been in leadership positions, and also volunteered as a leader in volunteer organizations to help people get better, level up, empower themselves, create culture, right? Create process, create a program, design versus just what the majority of Americans do is freaking wake up every morning and shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't have an objective. They don't have a design. They don't have a process. Talk about that in the corporate world and some life lessons that we can all learn from.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like as you grow up, you now have structures where you got people reporting up to yourself, right? And you got divisions and departments reporting up, and those people's livelihoods and the company's existence or the company's existence and profitability is dependent on you, right? And so for me, it's empowering the team members that I have, right? And it's developing a culture within the organization that's about accountability. It's about performance, right? But also empowering the people to make the people that work for you to make business decisions, right? And then coach and counsel all of the time. And so, as you move up in organizations, the success that you have is not contingent on just the work that you do alone, right? It's now based on how the team around you, below you, is performing, right? And you now become sort of a coach and counsel, and mentor to all of these people that are working for you. And what I try to do most of the time is give them direction, right? Paint the big picture for them so they see the big picture. You have clear direction, clear metrics for success, and then I turn them loose, right, and let them do their thing, right? And because, I don't know about you, but I've never interviewed or I've never met somebody that loves to be micromanaged, right? And so for me, it's how do I empower these people to make business decisions for us? And if they make the wrong decisions or make decisions that are questionable, it's sitting down with that person and making sure that they understand what the expectation is, either from the organization, from myself, and then continue to go and continue to move forward. And, I think if you can also figure out quickly who doesn't fit, right? If it doesn't fit in the culture of the organization, that's a big thing for me, is really developing the culture of the organization. What are the core values of an organization, right? And then recruiting people that aligns with that culture and with that core value, right? And I think if you get those people pointing in the right direction, in the right seats, you're going to be pretty successful as an organization. And part of, as a leader, your job now is to figure out what the future looks like for that organization, right? And look at it from a strategic standpoint. And what does the organization look like? How do we continue to evolve? How do we react to the marketplace, right? And the forces of the marketplace. And then how do you get your team to continue to move forward with you? So for me, that's a little bit of what I try to do with our team, and it's been successful for us. But as leaders, you always want to continue to evolve, right? And pick up new skill set. And so I do a lot of that by volunteering for boards or councils or for other organizations, because I feel like I pick up a lot of things that are happening in the industry by talking to other people that are peers or other people in different industries.
That is phenomenal. So take all that, coming from American Samoa, landing in Long Beach, right? Did you play football with Q?
I did.
So you played at Milliken High School, yes?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So football, Milliken, you go to SLO, then you go to grad school, then you start to get into the corporate world. You start getting into leadership. You start to become aligned and congruent with becoming effective and efficient at your craft, right? So, and you take all of that to where you are now. Talk about married kids. How many married? How many kids? What you got?
Married. Yeah, married. Got 3 kids: a 17, 12, and 10-year-old. 2 girls and a boy. The youngest one is a boy.
Phenomenal. So now, from being this kid that came from the Rock, right, and then now married with kids, executives, you got some new horizons that you're about to go towards.
Right.
What would be your message to the world, Junior?
I think for a lot of us, right, hey, listen, I got a 17-year-old, right? It's with her, it's always mañana, tomorrow, Dad. I got this, right? I got this. And so my advice, and some of the things that we talked about, right, is, if not now, when, right?
Yeah.
When are you? What are you waiting for, right? And I know, a lot of younger people are subscribed or listen to your show, right? I'll tell them, you got to get moving, right? You got to own your stuff, right? You got to keep moving. You're not going to learn from standing still, right? And to me, like, nothing beats hard work, right? Like, you can network all you want, you can do all of these things, but at some point you got to start to grind, right? And like I said, like my first, one of my supervisors, nobody's coming, right? And you got to start moving, you got to start going. And so, like, if not now, when? If not you, who, right? Yeah. If you're looking at your family and you're saying, hey, well, nobody from my family has gone to college, right? It's very easy for us to slip into that victim, right? Like, I'm a victim, like, all of these circumstances, right? But I think if you start moving and you start, like, taking one, the first step, the next step, right? You're gonna be successful, right? If you can continue to work at it, right? It's very easy to slip into that, oh, woe is me, I don't have this and I don't have that, and a lot of us don't, right? But you'll figure it out, right? And if it's important enough to you, you'll figure it out, right? And like I said, there's a lot of us out here that are doing this, and just make sure, build your network, reach out. I think all of us are willing to help, right? I mentor kids at San Diego State at their master's program. So I'm involved in that side of it to continue to give back and continue to speak at some of the universities out there that have asked me to come in. So, I think there's a lot of us that continue that can help, but I would say you got to go, right? You got to start moving.
I like that. If not now, when? Hard work and grind. I love that message. So thank you so much for that. So thank you for everybody for tuning in here on the Coach V Show. We got a couple minutes left here. We are with the executive, Junior. And Junior has such a wealth of experience, but we're going to put Junior on the hot seat. And on the Coach V hot seat, I'm just going to say a phrase or ask a question, and then Junior is going to tell us what comes top of mind. Junior, we roll into Strong Beach. What's the first restaurant we got to pull up at? What's the first restaurant? Strong Beach.
Oh, geez, man, that's a good question. Oh, I don't. There's a lot of places on Pine Street that we usually go to. Right?
Okay.
That's downtown Long Beach. I can't recall off the top of my head. All of the restaurants there. There's a lot of great restaurants on Pine Street. There's a lot of great restaurants on Second Street there that we usually go to. And I can't remember off the top of my head now. There's an Italian place on Second Street that we usually go to for dinner that my wife and kids love to go there.
Right on. What about if we pulled into Slow? Where do we go eat at Slow? When you were there.
So there's a place in Slow called Giuseppe's, right? It's an Italian joint there. A guy named Joe Giuseppe started it with my cousin Eric Totolo, right? It's still there, right? They have a restaurant in Pismo Beach and another one in downtown Slow. Great Italian joint.
Very good, very good. And then so what about this quote? I mean, the who, what, where, and how, and why, all those matter, right? But the real question is, why not you? When I say something like that, what does that make you think, Brother Junior?
Yeah, for me, it's you. I think all of us, right, have leadership qualities within us, right? And to me, that's what it is. Why not you, right? We can continue to cheer everybody else on, right? We can continue, and I think in our culture, we're very humble people, right? We love to cheer people on, but at some point, you got to bet on yourself, right? At some point, you got to say, hey, why not me, right? I can do that, right? But it's, I think it's words and in action, right? You know what I mean? And so once you make once you make that statement, right, then you got to take on the action, right? And I think if you put those things together, man, that's a recipe for success.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting and the irony of life, leadership, and business, right, is that you can't do anything without faith, because with faith, nothing is impossible.
That's right.
But until you execute and perform, like the people that do that, and they don't even have the right mindset or the right emotional intelligence, but the people that go put in the work and create results, they're the ones that actually attract. They don't chase market value. The market chases and is attracted to them. Come on, Junior. Is that some real talk or not?
That is absolutely. I can tell you my last 3 jobs, I did, like I said, I didn't have to interview, right? It's either the CEO of that company called and said, hey, Junior, I'm looking to build this company. I'd love you to join, right? I think you can help us take us to the next level, right? And so, we talked about network, that's it, right? But it's people in action, right? And I try to put myself out there all of the time, attending events, networking with people, right? But also, try to push the envelope in some of the sort of standard operating procedures that every industry goes through, right? There's all of these case studies on Blockbuster and Netflix, right? But those examples are in every industry, right?
Yes, sir.
Part of what I try to do is look at something that is inefficient, right, and bring different solutions to it. And I think if you continue to be that person that wants to come in and try to innovate and bring in a different perspective, right, I think you'll find your place in whatever industry you're in.
Yeah, and then for those of you listeners that look up Blockbuster versus Netflix, and what Junior's alluding to is that actually Netflix flew down to Texas, I believe, where Blockbuster was. And they wanted to help them do what they were doing, which was at the time not streaming like we are now, was this mail by DVD service, right? But Blockbuster had such command in the market shares that they actually laughed at Netflix, right, Junior?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness! Absolutely. And then now Netflix has its challenges. Now every streaming service does now, because everybody's in the streaming service, not like when Netflix first started. But man, they really did. They are amongst the best in entertainment creation and production now. I mean, everybody else has been in the game for like 50, 60 years, and Netflix is, so that it's super innovative. And what Blockbuster, I believe, am I right, Junior? Instead of joining forces with Netflix, they acquired Circuit City. And both them and Circuit City are no longer here.
Yeah, they double down, right?
Great example,
I think, I mean, like, and these examples are everywhere, right?
Yeah,
you can
right.
talk about Uber and the taxi service, right? Like,
yes, sir.
There's so many. You talk about Airbnb, right? And in the hotel business, right? And so
yes, sir.
There are, I think, there are always disruptors to the status quo. And I think, for me, it's looking at industries and looking at how we do business and how do we evolve. And you talked about Netflix. Absolutely, Netflix is the first, but now they have to look, what is the next evolution, what is the next? Right? What is that? What does the market look like 5, 10, 20 years from now? And how do we evolve to that? And how do we create efficiencies in that, right? So I think a lot of companies, a lot of organizations are looking at that, as we continue and as technology continues to improve.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. So shout out to Island City. We went over 5 minutes, but since you know the CEO, I think we're going to be okay. You know what I mean? Not because it's my show, but because you and Q went to high school together. I don't think they're going to mind it. But so thank you so much, Junior, for coming on the show. Go ahead, take 30 seconds, a minute, your final on being on the show and any last message, and we're going to conclude the show, brother.
No, I appreciate the time you've given me. I think what we talked about before is I encourage our young people and everybody that's listening to to take accountability for their lives and take action, right? As we talked about, right? You got to continue to push forward, right? And finally, utilize our network, right? There's so many of us on Facebook. All of us are on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you're looking on the business side of it, reach out, let's connect, and then let's figure out how to find synergy. You and I talked before we even got on the air. It's not about like, hey, can I get a discount on this, right? It's utilizing our network to get you connected to the right people that's going to help you continue to further your career or continue to grow your business, right? And so I think that's critically important.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, and get to it as you can, but don't feel any rush. What are some projects that are on the horizon for you? And then some shout outs. Let's shout out the fam, the wife and the kids. Go ahead, please, Junior.
Yeah. So, in my career, obviously, as you continue to grow, I had to move my family all over the place, right? So we were in California, then we went to Texas, came back to California. You and I talked before. I just took on another job in Chicago, right? And thankfully, we don't have to move to Chicago, but I'm going to be flying back and forth between California or Los Angeles and Chicago, and you can't do that without having a family that can support you, right? And family that a wife that takes on that role when you're out of town, right? And so huge kudos and huge respect to my family that continues to move our family forward even when I'm not in person with them, right? And I think for all of us, we need that supporting factor behind us, right? And I think the last piece I would offer up is find mentors, right? For me, I had a lot of mentors that I was able to ask questions, get some feedback, bounce ideas off, right? That helped me continue to grow. And then also those mentors for me help connect me to other people within the industry or areas that I wanted to explore, right? And so as we talked about, for people that are listening in, utilize your network, but find people that you can look up to, that have taken the path that you want to go, and I'm sure all of them will be able to answer questions and volunteer their time.
That's a great point. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's amazing the OGs that are out there in the industry that are actually industry experts and are really well off, that they love to tell their story.
Yeah.
They love to tell their story. So thank you for that, Junior. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show here. And for all of you that are tuning in, thank you so much for tuning into another episode here, as we got brother Junior Tauvaa here, who is an executive of executives. And really, we wish you the best of luck, Junior, in what it is that you're doing and what's going on over in Chi-Town. Shout out Chi-Town. You got a Polynesian brother. And I tell people all the time, Junior, hey, I'm not as American as apple pie, but I'm as American as coconut pineapple ice cream, baby. So they're going to enjoy you over there. And so thank you again to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next Monday to the Island City Media Group, where the beach meets the streets. Thank you to Brother Q and Brother Ammon. And for Junior and I, it's just not for the sake of your success that you tune into a show like this, but really for the sake that you be your best. In doing so, you realize the best of your abilities and that everything that you dream, pray, and grind for can be achieved. This is how your boy Junior and how your boy Coach V lives. All about faith and family. Grateful for God's amazing grace. Until next Modern Motivation Monday, your boy Junior, boy V. We'll see you next Modern Motivation Monday. Peace.
Yeah.